Good morning. Welcome to another edition, a morning of the movie NP. This is where we do some movie reviews, talk about how they can help us cope through life, and some mental health issues, some coping mechanisms, and all around general information about some films. So, I believe that that there are clues all around us that if we keep our ears and eyes open, we can find some solutions to our problems. As sometimes these can come from movies, literature, or even the hobo walking past you while you're sitting there waiting for the bus in the morning for the morning commute. So. There are diamonds in the rough everywhere around us. So today's movie review is going to be on Inside Out 2. That's the latest Disney Pixar creation. It came out about a month ago, and it follows the story similarly as the first movie did, of Riley, a young girl. In this particular film, we focus on her going into puberty and turning 13, and the new challenges that faces, including new emotions that she has to deal with. So I don't think that we are as understanding of adolescents and younger folk. Literally, these emotions get turned on like a switch, and they're not prepared for them often, and they don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn, and that can create obviously some challenges. So in Inside Out 2, Riley turns 13, begins having new emotions that she's not used to, one of which, the primary one, is anxiety. And she goes off to a hockey camp, meets some new girls, wants to be one of the cool kids, wants to be part of the team, and anxiety kicks in and kind of takes over her life at this point. So, and we get to see how that almost destroys her life, destroys her friendships, ruins her chances of being on the team. She ends up making some poor decisions, and breaks into the coach's office to steal a playbook. These are things that Riley normally would not do, but with anxiety in the control chair, she's being driven to do this. So let's talk about anxiety a little bit. So anxiety is the leading mental health concern in the world. Only 1 in 4 people that suffer with anxiety actually get help. There's several reasons for that. Stigma is one. We still very much stigmatize mental health care. If you broke your leg, there would be no question that you would go to a healthcare provider to get help. But when it comes to mental health issues, anxiety, depression, often we try to brush those off, or we try to ignore them. Sometimes because the stigma around it, that we don't want to be labeled with that, and we don't want to seek help for it. Other reasons are limited access to care, of course, finances, and I'm sure there's multiple other reasons, but those are the leading factors. So let's talk about the brain a little bit and how that works. So what's interesting is the brain is one of the things that is always changing, and as we age, it ages along with us. And going back to Riley's case in puberty, there's parts of the brain that begin to develop that were not there before, or at least weren't turned on, and now they are. and so now we got to deal with those emotions. One of the reasons why adolescents are such risk takers, and they often do not have great judgment skills for decision making, is because the prefrontal cortex, the frontal lobe of the brain, is not fully developed, and that is one of the main governors of our emotions. So if that is not functioning properly, or is not completely developed or completely turned on, then we can struggle with some issues. And we see this even later in life with disorders like mood disorder, bipolar disorder, where there's a disconnect between that part of the brain and the rest of the brain. Now, the brain actually does not completely develop until about anywhere between age 23, 24, 25, 26. So these are struggles that we go through, and one of them being the anxiety. And what is anxiety? So anxiety, in essence, is a malfunctioning evolutionary tool to keep us safe. What do I mean by that? So back in caveman days, we had to be worried about going out into the jungle alone, or even in a group. We had to worry about going out in the jungle because, a saber-toothed tiger could be jumping out at any minute and trying to eat us, right? So the body and the brain builds these defense mechanisms, and one of them is the fight or flight response, which is wonderful when we need it. But when we don't need it, it can wreak havoc on our lives, and usually rears its ugly head as anxiety, because the system is broken. Because today in modern society, we still have this mechanism built into us, and yet there are no saber-toothed tigers jumping out at us. We don't need to worry about that. But it still exists, and so anxiety kicks in, and for some unfortunate folks, takes over their lives. So what are some things that we can do for anxiety? Well, first off, there's a lot of literature that suggests that those that exercise are less anxious than those that don't. So there's definitely a correlation between physical activity and anxiety. Walking, jogging, getting to the gym, all good things. And interestingly enough, the literature goes on to suggest that those that exercise more vigorously are actually less anxious than those that exercise moderately or lightly. So coping skill number one. Skill number two, journaling. Coping skill number three is staying in the present. We create a lot of problems for ourselves when we project ourselves too far into the past or too far into the future. What's the sense of worrying about tomorrow if tomorrow isn't already here? Now, it's true that the decisions that we make today influence what happens tomorrow. So in some sense, we do need to be concerned with the future. But if that's all we're thinking about is what's going to happen tomorrow, it's going to ruin our day. It's going to set us up for failure. So stay present. That is a very good coping mechanism. And some of the things that we can do to stay present is journaling, grounding. There's some techniques where what we do is get out, take our shoes off, run them through the grass, look around, engage our five senses. What can I hear? What can I smell? What can I see? That's an excellent coping mechanism. Some deep breathing techniques, One of the breathing techniques I like is a 4-6, where we breathe in for the count of 4 and then out through our mouth at the count of 6. And you do that about 5-6 times. It also ties into substance use disorder. Unfortunately, we now know at the current state of the art of understanding substance use disorder, most substance use individuals are using, or at least began using, because they were self-medicating. So they didn't realize that there were medications out there to help them. They didn't realize that there was counseling, therapy out there. Either A, they turned to drugs intentionally, or a friend gave them something that helped them and they said, oh, this is great, I feel better, I don't have to worry about my problems. But then the actual substance itself becomes a problem. So please get the help that you need. Dial 988. 988 is not just the suicide hotline, it's a crisis line. So it doesn't matter whether you are suicidal or not. If you're just struggling, 988 will link you with a professional that can talk you through some things and give you some pointers and set you up with referrals. A lot of my patients like natural remedies, and that's fine. But what I do there is I direct them to the National Center of Complementary and Integrative Health, the NCCIH. And this is the government's branch that actually takes a look at all of these supplements on the market, all of these natural remedies, and actually does some studies to find out which ones are safe, which ones actually work, which ones you're wasting your money on. For example, Kava Kava tends to be one of the big supplements that pop up, or natural remedies that pop up when we talk about anxiety. However, Kava Kava has been known to cause liver damage. So are we doing ourselves any favors using a natural product? Just because it's natural doesn't mean that it's safe, right? Okay. And for those that say, oh, I don't want pharmaceuticals, I'm not putting that garbage in my body. Well, the reality of the matter is most of these pharmaceuticals were discovered by natural means, and then what we've done through science is extracted whatever the substance is that is beneficial, and we've packaged it into a pill. And the good thing about pharmaceuticals is you at least have some governing body that is making sure that these things are safe, that they are certified, that they are clean. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up today. Thank you for being with me, and I hope you click and subscribe, and comment below on some strategies that have worked for you, and again, maybe something that you comment on might help someone else. That's what it's all about, folks. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.